Imprimió 100,000 Biblias para llevar a Rusia.
And they're sitting in a warehouse on the communist border, but we want YWAMers to pass them out.
Y están en una bodega en la frontera con ese país comunista y estamos buscando a jucameros para repartirlos.
But there was one problem. They wanted us to buy them first.
Pero había una pequeña problema que querían que la compráramos primero.
But the price was so cheap. I said, honey, for the price of a Pepsi, we can put 3 Bibles in Russian hands. Let's do it.
Eran tan baratas las Biblias que por el precio de una Pepsi uno podría comprar 3 Biblias.
And I said, honey, we're going to dedicate our
Así
newsletter.
que digo a mi señora, vamos a dedicar nuestra carta de noticias y vamos a recargar fondos.
And we had about 2,000 on our mailing list.
Y teníamos como 2,000 personas en nuestra lista de correo.
And I said, all the funds come in, we're going to give it to the Bible program.
Y los fondos que entran vamos a donar a este proyecto de Biblias.
And in 1 week, myself and another man raised $40,000.
En una semana yo y otro compañero reunimos $40,000 para Biblias.
That was the response of God to us because we were ready to go.
Eso era la respuesta de Dios a nosotros porque estábamos listos para ir.
So the project was over. I'm happy. I didn't get to go and distribute Bibles, but that's okay.
Terminó el proyecto, yo estaba feliz, pero yo no pude participar en repartiéndolas.
Then one day I get an envelope that I had sent out 2 months earlier with the check in it for the Bible project.
Y 2 meses después recibo, a week later.
No, 2 months.
2 semanas después recibo una carta que fue enviado 2 meses antes.
And the project
Con un cheque.
The project was over.
Ya habíamos terminado el proyecto.
So I put the check, thanked the lady, sent it back to her.
Así que yo destruí el cheque y lo volví a enviar, lo devolví a la señora.
I said, the project's over, thank you very much.
Gracias, pero ya terminó el proyecto.
I didn't even know who the person was. I don't know how she got my
Yo
name.
no sabía quién era ni sabía cómo se conocía a mí.
Then 2 weeks later, I got the envelope back with the same check.
Y dos semanas después me devolvió el sobre con otro cheque.
She said, God said, give this to you, so I want you to have it.
Así que Dios mío que te lo enviara, así que yo quiero que usted se quede con él.
And I said, okay, Lord. And that started a relationship.
Y eso inició una relación.
So I have this person in Alaska
Así
that got inspired.
que tengo esta persona en Alaska que Dios inspiró.
And 7 years later, I got to go to Alaska, meet her for the first time.
Y
And
7 años después tuve la oportunidad de ir a Alaska y conocerla por primera vez.
And I asked her, how did you get my name?
¿Cómo conseguiste mi nombre?
She said, a friend of mine photocopied your letter and sent it to me.
Alguna amiga mía me mandó una fotocopia de tu carta y me lo envió a mí.
Well, that started a relationship in 1991
Eso inició una relación en el año 91
that is fast forward to today.
que vamos a seguir hasta hoy.
So I want to introduce you to Okpelek.
Quiero presentarles a Jope Pele.
Lek. And so Terry is going to read the story of Okpelek, and then I'll pick up from there.
Voy a leerlo en inglés y después trato de hacer
You have to
un resumen, ¿no? Tu iPad.
The printer ran out of print ink, so we had to improvise with modern technology. But actually, it's an 18 font size because of Terry's eyes. But he brought his glasses.
I remember my glasses, yeah.
So he's going to read this in English. It's fairly short. And then I think he's going to read it read it in Spanish?
Yeah.
Or interpret it in Spanish. So be patient. And one
Okay.
of the reasons is that I'm going to edit this particular video, and I think this will be an easier way to edit. So enjoy this story of a Nehemiah that's gone before us.
Okay, the title of this is God Provides Glimpses from the Arctic, Alaska, by Bernice Sheldon. It was written in January 1st, 2018. Far away in the North Arctic, Alaska, at the beginning of the last century, in the dark of January winter, an Eskimo couple traveled home from a visit with relatives who lived in the north slope of Alaska. Meet Annie and John Shelton. They were reindeer herders in a government-sponsored program to help provide food for the people in the Kobuk River Valley. A century ago, there was no caribou or moose in that part of Alaska, and fish was the main diet. John and Annie lived in a small Eskimo village at the Brooks Mountain and by the Kobuk River. They headed home to the village because Annie was soon to give birth to her second child. She knew as she snowshoed to break the trail in front of their dog team that pulled a sled with camping supplies that now was the time to have the baby. They stopped and John set up a tent, cut spruce branches to make a floor on the snow, went to tote and start a fire and melt snow for hot water. Upon his return to the tent, Andy announced, "I've already had our baby." He fell through the branches on the snow. "He is too little. We can just leave him out here." She gestured to the snow outside the tent. John answered, "No, Annie, you know what the missionary said. He said that would be like murder. We'll take him home with us." And so they did and named him Okpelek, the name of the small river in that area. The village school teacher gave him the name of Charlie for their baby. When Charlie told his birth story, he would declare, "That was the first time God saved me." They built sod houses on the tundra where they lived while caring for their reindeer herd. Charlie went to school in Kobuk a couple months a year, following having Christmas with his grandmother in the village. Charlie's older brother taught him to read. When Charlie was 9 years old, a missionary visited Kobuk village and explained the gospel. The invitation to accept Jesus was given, and Charlie said he believed in Jesus and was born again. Thereafter, when Charlie told his story, he said, "That was the second time God saved me." Charlie's most precious belongings as a child were a flashlight, harmonica, and a New Testament. In the summer, each Eskimo family had a fish camp where they lived in tents and caught fish with gill nets. Charlie was a self-appointed preacher as a teen. He gathered neighboring families together at his mother's fish camp. The people would sing songs that the missionary had taught, and Charlie would read passages from the New Testament and preach the biblical message. In the 1950s, Charlie, with the help of Eskimos from Kotzebue and Fairbanks, built the first church in Kobuk and that was under the Southern Baptist Authority. The men traveled up by boat up the Kobuk River, cut spruce trees, rafted them down to the village. The log church still stands today, over 60 years later. It has had some repairs done, but needs more modifications. Today it is occupied by a pastor who has lived there for 10 years, along with his wife and their 5 children. The village has a population of 200, but the church is mostly made up of youth. Charlie's reindeer herding ended when the government changed the program. Caribou migrated into the region, and the reindeers interbred with the caribou, and they migrated away, but returned in the migration cycle each year. Moose migrated into the region and stayed, so now there are good sources of meat for hunting during the government-directed seasons. When Charlie would tell his story, he'd say, "The government took away my herd of 2,000 reindeer, but God gave us caribou and moose to hunt." Charlie and his brother took up some abandoned gold claims that were 15 miles from the village. After his brother's death in the 50s from TB, Charlie switched to mining jade and those same claims. He got a diamond saw and spent the summer months at the claim sawing pieces from the jade boulders. Those pieces he would move by boat to the village and then get them to market. The income provided for buying boat motors, materials to build new boats, supplies for the household. In the 60s, a teacher lady named Bernice, family called her B, took a summer trip from Michigan to Alaska with a couple of teacher girlfriends. They drove the Alcon Highway and camped in their Econoline van. They danced to the sound of the music on the mountains of the Denali Park, overlooking the now named Mount Denali or Mount McKinley. The next fall, B moved to Alaska and took a job in Nome. She worked in 13 villages with the Head Start programs set up by the government. One week, B sat at the registration desk in Nome, where the village representatives attended a conference to learn about the new government programs to aid their villages. B handed Charlie his name tag, and he took his seat. When Charlie told his story, he says, "As I sat down and I knew she was the one, I am going to marry her." They met the next spring in Port Hope and Kotzebue. B returned to Nome. A few days later, Charlie showed up in Nome. That was not on his way home from the meeting in Port Hope. B's Head Start position was ending, so she was packing her boxes to store in Nome while she went to